Hi, today we're talking about how to remove ink from an EcoTank printer. Today we're going to be sampling a 2720. What we first do is we open up the front panel, and up the top left hand and right hand corner you will see two small Phillips screws. I've already taken them out, but further in the video I'll show you in depth where they are. From here we want to open up the cover and grab ourselves a pen and actually place it inside the holes on the metal carriage. It saves knocking any wires or anything like that. From here we want to dislodge the carriage from the carriage locking system. To do this we actually remove the cogs on the left hand side of the printer, and this will dislodge the locking mechanism on the carriage, which is that white thing there. There you go. So once we've done that, we move our carriage over, so we've got a bit of room to move. I've already removed the plastic cover, but that just slides back towards the left and pops out, and then we remove our silicone hoses from the holders and unlock all our cartridges. I've actually missed the first bit there, but we'll show you with other colours. But yeah, what we want to do is we want to pull the cartridge out, suck the ink out of the cartridge, and then suck the ink out of the hoses, and make sure that we open the caps so we're not forcing the ink out of there. We want to get it out as smooth as possible and as slow as possible, so we don't build up pressure. We've actually used an 100ml syringe with a 100ml needle to do this, blunt needle. You could use a sharp needle. We just would say be very careful that you don't put a hole into the tube. What we do here is we generally get rid of your waste ink, or put them into bottles. We actually put ours into bottles and resell them as normal ink for a few dollars a bottle. There's nothing wrong with the inks. If you're buying, these are a refurbished printer too, so if you're buying a new printer you wouldn't have to do this. You just pour the sublimation ink straight into. So once we've done that, we basically just lock it back into the carriage and proceed on to the next colour. Now in this one you actually see how we remove the ink from the cartridge. So we will pop out the yellow, I believe, magenta, and we slowly dislodge the hose off the back. If we pull it too fast we end up with ink everywhere. At the bottom of the cartridge is a small hole that you can use a small 10ml syringe for, and as you just push it in and insert it, you want to be pulling or sucking the ink out of it. And you'll see in the video that a few times we actually turn it left and right so that the ink falls into the section where we can empty as much ink out of the cartridge as possible. Once again, we just put that into a bottle, insert a syringe, a clean syringe, into the hose, and we proceed to slowly suck. Pretty much from here, we do this with all four colours. The difference between each model may vary, but they're all pretty much the same. I think a couple of the models like the 2720 or the 2710 or 2700, the only difference is on your cartridge carriage there'll be a plastic cover which is held in by a very small screw. So we're we're skipping through this quite quickly, but the procedure's all the same. So once again, we're on the yellow now. We insert the small syringe into the bottom, suck the ink out, and we want to actually get that ink into that square section of the cartridge to suck out the as much ink as possible, and then remove the ink from the lines. Now when we remove the ink from the lines slowly, you can actually feel the pressure in the syringe. So even if you stop moving the syringe, you can actually still see the ink flow into the syringe. When it's finished, you'll hear it start sucking air, and you'll actually see it in the syringe. It's starting to suck air. If you're using a smaller syringe, this could take 3 or 4 turns to do it. Like I said, we use a bigger syringe so we don't have to sit there and constantly suck ink out. We try to do it all in one hit. And then we obviously move on to the black and do the same thing. Now on some models, the black you might have to do twice, depending on how big the reservoir is. It does hold a bit more ink than some of the previous models. So we insert this back into the carriage and we're pretty much done. We move that across, we poke our hoses back into its holders, and you'll see in most of them there actually are a line across the hoses. You want to insert that so it's flush with the hose holders, as you can sort of see there, and we just press them in and they generally lock in pretty easy. From here we just put the plastic cover back on, so generally at the far or the closest to the cartridge we hook the plastic over a little tab, and then we place down in 2 other sections and then push it forward. You'll see what I mean when you try to do it. Don't just rip it out. If you just rip it out, it's not going to be any good to you. You'll just have to throw it away. But yeah, once you've done that, we generally give it a bit of a tidy up, put the carriage back into its normal position, and proceed to re-screw it all back together. So here we're about to close the lid. Alright, now you need to make sure you don't dislodge it from its holders at the rear of the printer. That's hence why we use a pen, so we don't actually lift it up too high and dislodge it. So we're inserting the 2 screws here in the top left and top right corners. I believe there is a close-up of this once I get this screw in. And there you go, yes. So in here you can actually see up the top left there, that very small screw. And then over to the right there's another small screw. So there's the 2 screws we removed to open the lid of the printer. So once we've done that and we've replaced them, we close the control panel and the paper feed I suppose paper feed release tray underneath, and then we can proceed to fill with ink. So with eco tanks, if you've never used one before, they're pretty much you just have the lids on them, turn the bottle upside down, it will self-fill. Once full it will stop, and you'll just remove the colours and then move on to the next. So I believe we skip through this quite quickly. After each colour, just make sure you close the lid or close them all and then only open the one you need to open, so you don't get the colours mixed up. It's probably a good tip. So while we're just waiting for the cyan here, so if you find this information interesting or useful, please subscribe to Aussie Subs or like us, and place any comments in the comment section, and we'll try to answer them as quick as possible for you. And what we're doing here is we're just about to turn the printer on and go through the procedures that the printer's asked us to do. So this will vary from model to model. In this one, it's asked us for the language, so we select OK for English. It goes into a preparation mode. It takes a couple of minutes, and then what it'll do is it'll come up with a screen saying it's ready for installation. So from here, we generally, with the 2720s, we hold the question mark up in the top left-hand corner and for about 5 seconds, and it will tell us that we're ready to go into the initialization. So we press the OK button to start. This takes generally 8 to 10 minutes to process. Once this is done, we can put a bit of paper in, do a print test, and start printing.